Hello and welcome to Between the Skeins. My name is Meg and I am the yarn dyer behind Megs & Co. I am also a knitter, crocheter, a spinner, and just an all-around curator of color chaos. I am so happy that you are here. This is episode 2 of Between the Skeins. At the end of last year, I did a little bit of a rebrand, so there are quite a few videos up on my YouTube channel already, but this is episode 2 of the Between the Skeins video series. So I hope that you're excited to be here because it is the new year. I am excited to be here. I am excited for a new year, a little bit of cleansing, a little bit of a not so fresh start for me, but definitely a cleanse and I think a getting ready for spring and new things to come. But for now, we've got to tackle the old. So are you ready to get into it and to get between the skeins? Let's do it. So before we get too far, let's start with what I'm wearing. This is the Cinnamon and Bourbon sweater by Thea Coleman, also known as Baby Cocktails. This is a sweater that was actually knit for me by one of my wonderful sample makers, who is also in my local Fiber Night meetup group. If you are local to the Rochester, New York area, I do host a weekly meetup group. We meet every Wednesday night. So she was wonderful and knit this beautiful sample for my shop. I absolutely love it. I wore it to the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival back last year, 2025. And it is knit in my Empire Estate yarn, which is my custom spun New York State sourced yarn. It is in the colors Empire Apple. And then one little modification that we did for this pattern, which I am just obsessed with, is instead of just using one contrast color, um, we did two. So I say we because it was my idea, but I did not knit this. uh, so Marie did all the work for me. So it was a little bit of a peach, which is the color is called Red Haven. And this mustard color is called Lost in the Maze. And I just think it just gives such a beautiful little pop. There's so much texture in this pattern. It's really wonderful. She did rate it as a little bit more of an intermediate pattern, especially if you're going to incorporate that second color because you are just, juggling multiple strands and, just having to pay attention to your stitch count and whatnot. It is a bottom up, but it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And I absolutely love it. And one of the other things that I wanted to highlight with this sweater is this is my New York State yarn. Oh, I knew this would happen. We'd have a little visitor. Come here, you little monster. This is Simon. This is my newest edition. He's got to come check it out like all the YouTube cats, right? Can you just sit and be nice? He's not. Okay. Just sit very still. So I wanted to wear this because I wanted to highlight a special project that the New York State Textile Project is running. So the New York State Textile Project is a non-for-profit organization whose mission is to help uplift and support local fiber producers, not just in New York State, but particularly in the New York State area, but to really highlight local wool and the local wool industry. And they have a new initiative for 2026, and that is called Rhinebeck Sweaters for Good. And they came up with this great idea that for the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival, which is a big fiber festival that happens every October down in Rhinebeck, New York, so it's very commonly just called Rhinebeck. They came up with the idea that it is the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival, so therefore we should be making our Rhinebeck sweaters because it is a tradition to knit or crochet or weave a very special sweater for this event. That we should be making our garments or our accessories in local wool. So they came up with the mission for this year to take the pledge to make your sweater in local wool. And so it's called Rhinebeck Sweaters for Good. So I just wanted to highlight because it is January and it gives you plenty of time to be thinking about patterns that you want to make, thinking about the yarn that you want to use. And my Empire Estate yarn is a perfect candidate for this project because it is locally sourced wool from Central New York. It is from Ellie's Acres Farm, which is a member of the New York State Textile Project. It is spun at Bat and Kill Fibers. It's a spinning mill in Greenwich, New York, which is also a part of the New York State Textile Project. And then it is dyed by me, and I am also a member. And yeah, so it's just a really great thing, and I am so excited for this year's Sheep and Wool Festival to really see all of these locally sourced sweaters on parade. Cannot wait. So I have not chosen my sweater yet, but I am on the hunt for some sweater patterns. So anyway, excited for that. So we can't have sweaters without yarn. So what's cooking? What have I been up to? So I do have a brand new collection that I wanted to share with you. I started working on this probably a little bit before the holiday mayhem started and then really leaned into it during my time off. I was able to take off almost 2 full weeks off of work and I just really enjoyed my time off. I went into lazy mode so quickly and easily. It was absolutely wonderful to take that time off. And I was able to use that time to really tap into my creative energy as well. And so I have an event coming up. It is on February 7th. It is very local to me. It is in Henrietta, New York, which is just outside of Rochester, literally 10 minutes outside of Rochester, New York. Um, it is the Tina Turner Knits Fiber Arts Festival, and it's at the RIT Inn and Conference Center. So it takes place in a couple different ballrooms within this conference center. So it's all indoors, free parking. It is $5 to get in. It is a wonderful event. And guys, this is like a big deal for me because this is the very first fiber festival that I have ever vended at, ever. So I did my very first one back in 2019. Um, so we did have to take a year off, obviously, because of pandemic reasons. Um, so this is going to be my 7th year vending at this show. I can't believe that. I really can't believe that. And just every year that this show comes up, it just always feels like such an important like milestone or anniversary. It's just such like a big moment for me and my business because this was a big moment. Like this was kind of when I went from just doing this a little bit casually, throwing my stuff up on Etsy to applying to vend at a fiber festival, building a whole collection, buying grid wall and hauling it all to an event that yeah, and I was like so nervous. I was like, nobody knows who I am. People are gonna think this is I'm nuts. Are people gonna like it? And I've been back every year ever since, and it's been wonderful. So I have been creating a collection that is for my winter collection, but I'm going to debut it at the Tina Turner Fiber Arts Festival, and then I do plan to make it available immediately as soon as the festival is done. Um, I can put this up as a pre-order before the event if there is interest. So this is where I always like just never know what to do because I can't have an empty booth. So I can't post the inventory that I currently have for sale on my website because at this point, I don't have the time to dye more for my event because it is just a few weeks away. And so I can't have an empty booth. Um, but I just don't feel like it's right to put pre-orders up on the website, um, and sell it to people when I have the yarn that I'm going to then sell to somebody else. So it's I never know what to do in these situations because then I also know that if you want it and you can't come to the event, you just don't want to, aren't local, just not available that day, um, that you want to be able to get your name on the list. So yeah, so I never know what to do in these circumstances. So um yeah, so I might put this up for a pre-order, and if I do, it'll probably be very close to the event. And so any inventory that I have coming back with me will ship on like a first come first serve basis, and then I will dye restocks as quickly as I can. But yeah, so what is the collection? So I'm really excited about this one because I really wanted to lean into the mood of January because January I feel like always hits hard because December is a time where we give out, right? Like you're going out to parties and events and dinners and you're gifting and there's so much giving and sharing and community and family and but it can also be a little exhausting and overwhelming because you're not doing a lot for you're doing so much for others. And January I feel like is a nice time of some stillness, a little bit of time of return to routine. But if you are in a cold climate like I am, I don't know if you can see out my windows, but we got a ton of snow today. You tend to, retreat to those cozy spaces and cozy activities, um, a little bit more indoor things, to kind of warm your heart and soul. Trying not to get too cheesy here, but yeah, we're looking for physical warmth and comfort because January is cold and dark and can sometimes get a little bit lonely because everyone starts to cat is going nuts. Everyone starts to just retreat back to their spaces. Um, so I started to like think about, the places that I lean into for comfort, the activities that I like to do for comfort. Um, those kind of treat yourself kind of things. And usually it's, coffee, physically warm, but also a treat. Coffee shops, you can meet up with friends and, have a nice dessert. And no, absolutely not. I know. Thoughts. Okay. So coffee shops, you can meet up with friends. They're just a vibrant, lively space that just always feels warm with the energy, physically warm with the warm drinks and desserts. Bookstores, the same thing. It just, I don't know, you just feel warmth from the familiarity of the space, the books, the stories, the characters. Um, Baby. Okay, that's not. Um, and then also thinking about some of the winter activities that do happen around my area or in other cold places. So, people go skiing and sledding and might go on like a winter hike, and then you got to go into the ski lodge, the park lodge, and there's like a nice roaring fire and it just has that nice wood smoky smell. And anyway, so I was trying to bring in these smells, sights, comforts, textures into color form. And I'm really excited for this collection. So here's the collection in a little bit of a snapshot. So we've got lots of um, browns and maroons and purples and deep blues, um, to just really try to invoke warmth with cold and stillness, and um, really excited for it. Um, I'm missing the first color. Hold on, pause please, and unpause. So not necessarily the most important color, but it is the color that started the whole collection because it's the first color I created and it became the base for which all of the other colors came out of. Um, yeah. And also, I don't know if you can see out the windows, but I went downstairs and it was sunny. And I came upstairs 30 seconds later and it is a snowstorm. I do not know what's going on with this weather. Anyway, so this is called Coffee Shop. And if you tuned into any of my Vlogmas episodes, you have already seen this color because this is the color that I used as the main color in my holiday project. I'm going to be showing that later in the video, so stay tuned. So this started off as just a little experiment, and I just was absolutely smitten by it, and so it just needed to become a permanent color, and it has since um, become the foundation for the entire winter collection. So it just has a ton of browns and mahoganies and blue and purple. So just wanted to bring in the richness of, coffee beans and leather books and, little bits of wintry blues. And it's just, it's hard to describe just how lovely it is until you're really looking at it, because from a distance, you're like, oh, it's just a brown skein of yarn, but it really is not. There's so much depth and color in this. While at the same time, it's the type of color that matches just about everything because it has that blue-brown base to it that if you need an anchoring color for your main color, it's gonna pair really well with just about anything. And it has so much movement in it, but at the same time, it's gonna let other colors shine really well. I do think that this would make an absolute whole fabric for a sweater, a pullover, like a cardigan. I could see this being held with like some alpaca or mohair, um, and just being just a lovely garment piece. So that is Coffee Shop. And I actually had two existing colors that I thought would look absolutely beautiful with it. So this is called Midnight Fig. This is a color that has been in my collection for a couple years now. And so that is going to be a part of the collection because stunning. And this is called When the Curtain Hits the Cast. And again, just so pretty. Like what a beautiful like low contrast sweater, or just like a really moody shawl. Oh, it would be so beautiful. So then I did want to start bringing in some other colors for the collection. Um, this is actually another existing color that released in October, and this is called Caught in a Fairy Tale. I brought it to the Western New York Vibrant Arts Festival, and then it sold out pretty quickly. And I thought, again, it just fit this palette so perfectly. And also that kind of vibe of how I felt when I looked at it. It just had such deep and moody undertones while being really soft and kind of ethereal at the same time. Like that's why it kind of reminded me of a fairy tale of, you just have so much interest with your villains and your main characters. And so it just reminded me of that, kind of being in a bookstore and, reading and just being kind of enraptured with our favorite tales and characters. And I just loved this. And I absolutely love how it works so well in this collection. So it pairs perfectly with Midnight Fig and When the Curtain Hits the Cast. If you wanted to do some kind of fading, so good. Um, so I also wanted to add some blues. January is blue season, um, in my opinion. So I started playing around with um, kind of the base recipe of how I dyed coffee shop and just leaned way more into the blues and came up with this color. Absolutely exciting. Kind of reminds me of like ice skating, but I brought in a lot of those, a lot of speckles of browns and whatnot. So it's kind of like, your hot cocoa after ice skating. And um, so it just has just enough of that grounding, but just beautiful icy blues there. So I'm calling this one January. And like, just look at that pair. So pretty. It's just how all of these, they're just so like moody but good. Like, I'm just obsessed. Um, and then I did want to lean just a little bit more into the blues. Um, again, with how January can be just so dark, where we are gaining light now, but it is just still so dang dark. My dog's snoring, and I think he agreed. So, um, so I took this recipe and went way farther with the blues, and it's really pretty. So this is just our kind of midnight blues. Um, it's just really romantic, and I don't have a name for this color yet. I haven't really thought about it yet. So this one doesn't have a name. So um, I thought about maybe naming it like Lake Effect Snow, but it doesn't really have a name. But ooh, look at that. So pretty. Obsessed. And then the last color, um, this one is, um, we're kind of starting to walk a little bit towards February, getting that little hope of spring. Valentine's Day is in February, so those bouquets are popping out a little bit. So I wanted to bring in a little bit of just hints of pink, a little bit more hints of plum and some magentas in there, but still lots of mood. And there's a lot of like forest green in here, like going through a pine grove. Um, but yeah, just still super dark and moody. It it just also kind of gave me that very like bookstore vibe. It's very similar to Caught in a Fairy Tale. It's just a much darker, moodier version. So this one, I don't know, it just gave me very like library bookstore. So I think I'm gonna call it bookish. I'm not completely sold on that name. So we'll see. It might be called bookish. Maybe it'll be called like in the stacks. I don't know. Naming is so hard. It's so hard because it's like I have such an attachment to the colors and they have to have the right name. But oh my goodness, that needs to be like, just look at all the speckled colors together. Somebody make a fade out of that, please. Beautiful shawl. So I'm so excited for that collection. So I've dyed all of that on fingering weight, DK weight, and a couple of these colors I am doing some sock sets on. So my sock sets will come with one full-size skein on my soft sock, which is a 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon. And then it will have two coordinating mini skeins in two tonal colorways. so you can do your heels and your toes. Um, so super excited for that. So let's talk whips. But before we do, I did want to talk a little bit about it being the new year, and it is kind of a tradition to reflect a little bit on last year and, kind of set some goals and intentions for the new year. And I definitely have a goal. It's kind of a big one, but I also think it is achievable, and I have a plan. So I'm going to back up just a little bit that I really noticed it when I came back from New York Sheep and Wool. It started a little bit with my stash, and more specifically, trying to put away my new purchases. And I always talk about my stash and how my stash, I feel that I buy very intentionally, and that um, I buy things that are special and, kind of represent places I visited and friends and, businesses and relationships. And so my stash has a lot of like good memories and whatnot tied to it. So it's a little bit more than just skeins of yarn on a shelf. It's treasures. They represent postcards and memories. And so it's very special. It's a very well curated special collection. But when I came back from the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival in October, and I went to put away my purchases, there was no place to put them. Like it was just full. Everything was just full. And I do not do well with overwhelming clutter. Everything has to have a place and a home. And when things start spilling out and I don't have a place to put them and things are on the floor or I'll put it away later and there's piles, I get very overwhelmed very easily and I just shut down. So, or I just do something crazy like what I did. I pulled out every skein. So instead of getting back to work as in getting back to the yarn dyeing and or unpacking my suitcase even, I pulled out every single skein and got to organizing. I did a little bit of destashing, but I really organized and I sorted everything into the projects that I had in mind, bagged it all. And I realized like there's too much. We all know, like, just I had projects for years to come. So I was like, okay, well, let me, pick like 5 things and I'll put them on my project cart because I have this cart where I like to keep all my projects that I'm working on. Well, let me tell you, there's no room on that cart either. It is so jammed full, and I started opening bags, and there was projects I didn't remember, and overwhelm. And and then I started to even feel a little bit of guilt. Like, isn't that weird? Like, I started the project. It was my purchase, it was my money, and I decided to make the thing. So who cares if I didn't finish it? But I don't know, I just had this like weird like guilt, like I let myself down. I didn't finish it. It was time wasted, um and in most of the circumstances it was like I did want the thing. Like it's beautiful yarn or project, and I wanted it. I guess I was just like disappointed in myself that I didn't have the discipline and the willpower to commit to it. Isn't that terrible? Like it's terrible, I guess, like what we put on ourselves. So yeah. So the cart that I use to organize my projects, it's just one of those like IKEA carts, little 3-tier cart. And I just like have something really easy that I can kind of, put my project bags down and, a little grab and go kind of a thing. And it was packed full, like shoved full. Like the top of it, is piled leaning on the wall. not cute, not cute at all. And and again, just this creeping sense of overwhelm. And especially because I was starting to make my plans for my holiday making. I really wanted to start something new for the holidays. Um, I knew that I was going to be opening my countdown minis, and you can watch my Vlogmas to see what I'm talking about. And I wanted to actually be making something with those minis because I hadn't done that last year. I That was the whole purpose of my countdown, is that I actually reboxed an advent that I'd opened in 2024 and never used it. So I repackaged the whole thing, reboxed it so that I could open it this year. Well, not this year, but last year, December 2025, so that I could reopen it with the idea that I would then use it as I'm opening it, so that it's not going back to stash. And part of that came out of this big pull everything out um, and find a purpose for it. Anyway, all that to say, my big lofty goal for the new year, I plan to finish or frog every single project that is on that project cart by the end of 2026. That is a big goal. I have not exactly pulled out every single project to count them up. I've just kind of given it a general eyeball, but I do think that this is a doable goal. And also, like, if I do still have projects at the end of the year, I'm hoping that I will have a much better sense of what's there. And I'm not even going to worry about it until December. Not going to go there. So, how am I going to achieve this goal? Because it's one thing to just declare something and throw it out in the universe. That is the first step. But how are we going to do this? So, the first step is to finish projects, right? So, one of the things that I know that I'm just a little bit guilty of, and I just need to just rein it in a little bit, is that I am addicted to starting projects. And I don't use the word addicted lightly. Like, I love that rush of finding a pattern and picking out the yarn and putting together the colors. And I love packing a project bag. I love caking up all the yarn and putting it in a bag, and then picking out all the notions and which scissors I'm going to use, and packing this bag, and then sitting down all eager to start the pattern. And it's like it's so new, and you just don't like know what you're getting into yet. It's not monotonous, and there's just something about that little rush that I just really love. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, if that's all it takes for me, right? Like, that's healthy. Like, that is really good. But I can't just be doing this over and over and over again, because I'm just consuming and creating a pile in my house that's just not sustainable. So I just have to make sure that I'm balancing that. So balancing that with, I can start projects, but maybe I need to start focusing on projects that I can finish more quickly and easily. So, smaller things like socks and hats, or smaller shawls, towels. So I can have this nice rush of a start in putting together the project, because I tend to choose sweaters and gigantic shawls and uh, shanklets, like just shawls that are basically blankets. And I think that's part of my downfall, is they're just these huge projects that take 6 months to a year to finish. And so I just need that little bit. I just need that rush. So I need to start choosing the right projects in between my big projects, to kind of just have a little bit of a better pace. So as I'm going through my pile, I'm making sure that I'm choosing 2 projects, um, sometimes 3, but I'm trying to stick to just 2 projects to work on at a time. One being a kind of bigger, slow go, not as portable project. And the other, I call it my snack project. So that's it's going to be quicker to finish, but it's also super portable. It comes with me to work because I can work on it on my lunch break. I can, whip it out really quick for if I'm on like a Teams call, um, sitting at a coffee shop with a friend. It's just super quick. And I feel like by balancing those 2 kind of project types, the super portable, super easy, I can memorize it, I can take it on the go, it fits in a tiny bag, versus my I'm home, I've got an extended period of time to work on this and it's bigger. I think will have just, I'm setting myself up for success to finish these projects. So, what am I working on right now? I have 2 languishing whips that I've talked about quite a bit, but this is my winter doodle sweater. So this pattern is by Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. So she has this whole series of doodles, and essentially they're all kind of plug and play. So for this particular pattern, she gives you the schematic of the sweater. So it's a basic sweater pattern, and then you plug and play the different doodles that you want to put in here. So each doodle is one of these motifs. So like these mountains, the pine trees, the coffee cups, the snowflakes, these little doodads in between. I've got another set of snowflakes, these dots, and then my little reverse mountains here. Um, so the winter pack comes with, just kind of generic winter things. And then it has more kind of, what we think is more Christmassy type stuff, like gifts and I think there was snowman. That's not Christmas, um, but yeah. So you can choose just whatever you wanted. I wanted to go for a very kind of generic winter. I wanted to be able to wear it all season long. So I wanted to go for something that was more generically winter, kind of ski lodge theme. So I've got my trees, my mountains, my snowflakes, and my coffee cup. Um, I started this in November of 2024, and I just keep putting it down for other projects, and that's just really it. I just, other things that come along the way, they're more exciting. Um, I follow the exhilaration of the start, and so I put this down, and I've put it down for like months and months at a time. Um, but I am making really good progress. So I picked this up again at the beginning of the year, and I do not plan to pick up another like larger project or essentially work on anything else at home other than this until it's done. And all I have left is the last sleeve. So I'm making really good progress, um, and I hope to be done fairly soon. I mean, I'm definitely making good progress. So I'm really excited for this. The yarn that I'm using for this is, I got so much stuff in this basket. Um, I love this basket. So it's really great for around the house. It doesn't make it as easy for like some of the travel. Like, so I will take this to like my Fiber Night meetup because that's easy. But like, I don't take this to work with me. That's just a little too much because I've got my work bag and my laptop and all that. But yeah, so the yarn, all of this is from just various stash. So there's, oh gosh, some of this is from Montana Crochet, Maker Wool Company, and then some of this is even just undyed yarn from. This is a yak Surrey alpaca blend that is absolutely just so good. It's so soft, so lofty. And this is some undyed sport. And so I've been holding those together for the main color, and they've created just such a beautiful oatmeal color. I plan to use this combination again because it's so soft. Um, and I love that, the color that it makes for the base. So that is my kind of big project whip. The second one that I have going, so I actually get to choose a second one at the moment because I've already finished two. So I'm off to a really good start. I've already finished two of my smaller snacky projects so far this year. So the first one, didn't have very much to go. So I just really had the cup to do. So not like a huge finish, but it technically was a 2026 finish. So I'm counting it. But these are my countdown socks. So these were the socks that I was working on all through my Vlogmas episodes. So this is from Woolens and Nosh. So pretty. So for quite a few years in a row now, Woolens and Nosh has done a self-striping holiday countdown. This is the bag that it came in this year. Absolutely adorable. So the idea is that it's 24 different stripes. They take up the yarn into two 50-gram cakes, hide it in that bag with just the little ends poking out, and then each day you knit your stripe. And so I just did a basic toe up sock. So I did started at the toe with, you did have the option to add on a mini skein. So I did do that. So I added on, so I just did my contrast color using the mini skein for the toe, and then each day knit my color. When I got to my size foot, I just did a short row heel, again using the mini skein. And then when I got to the end, I did want a little bit more length in my leg. I just really like to wear these with like a pair of boots. So, so I did add just a little bit extra. So you can see I repeated just some of the blue ones. Can we not make that weird noise? Thank you. And then again, went back to the mini skein for my cuff. And I did a 2x1 rib for the cuff. I like to, okay, that was gross. Stop making weird sounds. You can make weird sounds when this is over. Animals, am I right? So, so I like to knit these using 9-inch circular needles. And I believe I knit this on a US 1. So I like using the teeny tiny little circular needles. And so I do these at the same time. So I knit my stripe on one sock and then knit my stripe on the second sock so that they're kind of done simultaneously. I think that's all for sock notes. So obsessed, absolutely love them. This is the yarn that I have left over. So there is quite a bit of yarn left over. At one point I had the ambition to use up all of the yarn, but you can see they're quite long. And so I got to a point where I was like, they'll just be too long. Like they won't be like practical for everyday, like my uses. So I just opted to stop. And when I weighed them, they're about 22 grams left of each cake. And then um, I ended up getting too many skeins because I was worried about not having enough to do a full toes, cuffs, and heels. And I'm glad I did get the two because I don't think I would have had enough. So I have about 18 grams of the one mini skein and a little over 20 of each cake left. So trying to figure out what I want to do. Like if I just want to make like a pair of shorty socks, or maybe like a pair of like fingerless mittens. So, um, but not starting anything at the moment, but it is something that I do want to think about, as I use up stash, because I don't like to just let things linger in stash as well. The second little snacky project that I've also finished, so I finished that like pretty early. That was probably like the first week of January. And then this week, so just a couple days ago, I finished these. So I am a huge Buffalo Bills fan, like the NFL team football, Buffalo Bills. Um, so for this year, actually, it was last year. I keep saying this year, but it's January. So in this not calendar year, in this 365-day cycle, um, I have been asked like for so many years in a row to do it, and I just have never done it because the colors just don't really fit the kind of brand and aesthetic of Megs & Co., my yarn company. But I'm such a fan, and I just know like in Western New York, it's Bill's country. I've always been asked to do like a fan colorway. So this year I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Screw brand, you know, being, I don't need to stick to like a color palette. I can have a sports color. And I'm so glad that I did. So I did a team inspired colorway for the Buffalo Bills. I'm so excited how this came out. Um, if you are familiar with the fabric, or just, I think it was like a clothing company, Zubaz. I know it was like really big in the 90s, and they're kind of having a comeback. I love that they're having a comeback. It's that very loud, like zebra striped pattern. And it just feel like it was just so common with like NFL, like sweatpants and whatnot. And it was like everyone had it in the 90s, and now it's coming back. So I wanted to kind of mimic that fabric, that pattern of fabric with how I dyed this. And I feel like that came out really well. Like it's subtle, but you can see a little bit of like that kind of striping in the sock. So yeah, so I'm glad. So these are my Buffalo Bills kind of Zubaz inspired fan socks. So earlier in the season, so I had dyed these way back during preseason, actually during practice. So they do a summer training camp here in Rochester. And so I had originally dyed these during training camps. So that would have been July. And then I kept these in stock pretty much all through the season. And as of right now, as of filming this, please, please let this be our year. As of right now, as of filming this, they are still in the playoffs. But since this season is officially over, I wasn't planning on dyeing any more for this year. But I did have sock sets available in this color that came with two mini skeins, one in this red that is, I called it the Color Rush jersey. So when they have their Color Rush games, they wear this bright red jersey. Um, and then one of the blue that's called Buffalo Blue. This is such a good blue, by the way. And also, this red is such a good red. Like, it is such a good, like, true neutral, like, Christmas red. If I had the time, I really wanted to make something with this red. Because, like, just on its own. And then, same thing with, like, this blue. It's just a very, like, sharp blue. Like, get how well. It's the color of my couch. I just love it. So it's funny that like, together they're, very very primary colors, but on their own separately. And I think, in their right patterns and combinations, it takes the sports color completely away. And it really is a gorgeous red, and a gorgeous blue. Anyway, so this is Buffalo Blue and this is Color Rush Jersey. And that came with that sock set. And I have quite a bit left over from my Skeins. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I was kind of thinking of making either like a little like headband or like some cuffs, just something to kind of wear like during the game. Um, but anyway, so the same thing. I just did vanilla socks. These I did cuff down, but just, vanilla socks, short row heel, nothing fancy. And then I just kind of made them opposites. So, opposite color, heel and toe. I thought that was fun. It was actually a customer that had suggested it. She had mentioned that she was going to do it with hers. And I was like, and I hadn't started my second sock yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that too. Because that was such a good idea. And then for the cuff, as again, I just was trying to mimic that Zubaz pattern. So instead of just doing a solid cuff, I faded in the main color. So like I started with red and then I just started fading in that Buffalo Bills color. That's called Bills Mafia. So like I started with like, one, I did like, I think it was like 5 rows of red, 1 row of the Bills Mafia, then 4 rows of red, then 2 rows, then 3, then 3, then 2, then 4, and so forth. So it was just a really gradual transition, and I think it worked. It worked really, really well to kind of give that effect. So I'm really happy with these. And I just finished them this week. It was like just a couple days ago. Yeah, so it means that I am going to pick another snacky project to work on. I know one of the whips that I did want to share, because it is from um, the Vlogmas series that I was filming. So I wanted to share how much I've done. I have not worked on this since December. So once January hit, I haven't worked on this. So pretty much because I picked up that sweater, I put this shawl away. And maybe now that I've done that pair of socks, I can start working on the shawl again at work. I don't know. I'm probably going to go through some of my bags and see if I have any other socks. I actually know I have a pair of fingerless mittens that have been stuck at the thumb. Like I did all the rounds and then was just like, okay, I just need to sit with the pattern to do the thumb. So I might pick those up because there's not much left of those. And then maybe save this for when I'm done with the sweater. But anyway, so this was my December project. This was my holiday countdown project. So earlier I was talking about how I repurposed a 2024 Advent and was opening it. And so every day I was trying to keep up with adding in a different color. This is called the Rainbow Bouquet Shawl by Telly B Knits. And it is written for 12 mini skeins. I had 24 colors. So the first half of the shawl, you are just increasing, and if you are doing 12 colors, you would use each color twice. So for the first half of the shawl, I used each color once. So it worked out perfectly that I could open all the colors, use each color once. And by the time I got to, the end of the month, or basically to Christmas, those rows were getting so long. So now I'm on the second half, so every row is decreasing. And I have started to decrease because I did work on this a little bit after Christmas. So here's where I've started to decrease. So I have started repeating some of my colors. So I'll use each color twice. And it's just really pretty. So for that contrast color, that middle stripe is where I'm using Coffee Shop. And you can just see just how well it really makes each of those colors pop. Like it matches every color, doesn't matter whether it's green, blue, pink, orange. It matches all of them and just really lets them all shine. It's got beautiful contrast. So I'm very happy with the shawl. I think it's so pretty. I can't wait for this to be blocked because it's all just like lace. So I mean, this is gonna be huge once it does like block and stretch out. Um, Absolutely obsessed. It's so big. So this definitely is a big project, but it is very portable. So that's why it is definitely a good candidate to be my to-go project. I know that it is a little bit like you do have to pay attention to the chart just because of all that lace. So that's why I say like I don't know. I might save this for when I am done with the sweater and make this my bigger project. Um, if I can't find like another sock or something like super small and snacky to take on the go, because I also feel like I have so much to go on this shawl that, I really like how I've been able to finish two projects and I'm getting that nice satisfaction of being able to finish things. So I do plan to start new projects. I'm not going to just starve myself of the satisfaction. And I especially have events and stuff coming up. I have an event coming up in April that I don't need, but I really would like a shrug for. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to like deprive myself of starts, but I'm also going to just be very conscious of my timelines, very conscious of what's already on the needles. And so again, because I know that I'm going to want that, like, so when I finish this sweater, maybe is when I start that, or I just trying to be a little bit more conscious of, not putting something away just because I'm starting something, making sure that I'm finishing something and then starting something. Um, yeah. And then just working a little bit more intently is essentially the goal here. That's the main idea here. Whew, I feel like I've talked a lot in this episode, but I have had so much to share. It's been a minute. I do feel like Vlogmas ended so abruptly because, like I said, Christmas hit and I went into my cave of solitude. I finished my book. I was reading a book. What was it called? I don't even remember. It was super cute though. It was super cute. I really enjoyed it. So I finished that and just watched a ton of trash TV and hung out with friends. And it really was just the reset I needed. And yeah, I'm just excited to be back. I'm excited to be making. I do have other things to share with you, but we will save those for another time. Um, I feel like that's it. That's all I have. Um, yeah, I would love to hear from you. Have you set any special intentions for the new year? Are you struggling with finishing your projects, and what are some of the tips and tricks that you use to get yourself over the finish line? I'd love to know, love to hear them. So until next time, my name is Meg. Thank you so much for being here and chatting with me today and getting between the skeins. You can follow me on Instagram at megsandco_yarn. You can shop my yarn at megsandco.com. And if you really want to get chatty, you can join my Discord group. There is a link down in the show notes. And I try to link as much as I can in the show notes that I talk about. But if something is ever missing, you ever have a question, join the Discord and give me a shout. So until next time,